Hey guys, Mike and I'm back with not the Fisker Ocean one, but the Mach-E 4X. I have been given temporary drivership over as I am greatly honored by the one and only Bill.
Hey there guys.
Now Bill is from the EV Rider channel. And evrider.tv is the website, and then on YouTube, EV Rider is the channel. Great channel. It's actually, you will have seen the Fisker on that channel before. And then also, if you go and visit, you're going to see a whole lot of other EVs, including a really cool GM Hummer. That was insane. I can't believe it. And that is a good friend of both of ours. But let's get right into it. We're going to talk about the Mach-E 4X. We have the extended battery version here today. This vehicle is owned by Bill Bortsfield right here. So I'm going to let him talk about the vehicle first, and I'll give you my thoughts after.
Yeah, well, first off, guys, it's a 2022 Mustang Mach-E. As Mike said, the X stands for extended range. This is the all-wheel drive version. This one's got 346 horsepower. Ford rated 0 to 60 in 4.8 seconds. Now, this is what I would call a mid-trim Mustang Mach-E. The performance version is called the Mustang Mach-E GT Performance, and that one is rated at 3.5 seconds to 60. So this one's nice, but it's not going to quite keep up with Mike's Ocean One Launch Edition, but I'm very happy with it. I've already put more than 36 miles on the Mach-E. I've taken it up to the Northeast several times, to Delaware and Pennsylvania and such. I've driven it out to Houston, out to Colorado, to Denver. It's been in a total of about 22 states so far.
My initial thoughts of it is just this red. This color on the Mustang Mach-E just really stands out. It's beautiful. It seems to be very well made. You can see I'm just going to get this here in 4K. You can really see the sparkle in this metallic paint. Ford did a really great job with the quality of this paint. That's something that I'm very critical of on a lot of vehicles. You can really see the detail. This particular Mustang, just for everyone's knowledge, has 36,000 miles on it.
Yeah, longest road trip I've taken, by the time I pulled back into Jacksonville, I'd gone 4,800 miles and change. So I find that I get roughly about 240 miles per charge of interstate range. Now, out west, where in some spots the speed limit is 85, I can knock that way down. Once you get this car over 80, it is very happy to get up and gallop, but as you would expect, the range really drops down. Lifetime average, by the way, guys, on this Mach-E, which has got a lot of interstate miles as opposed to a lot of urban miles, is sitting right at about 3 miles per kilowatt.
This Mustang is sporting a well-refined software, and this particular model is the one that you're gonna want if you want to travel across country. The GT is great for fun, it's great for speed. I've seen those at a few car shows, but this is the one that is going to get you cross country, and this is the one that I think is the most daily drivable in terms of if you were to go on a road trip with an EV. This is the one that I would take.
Now, if you don't care about acceleration, you can get one that's got more range than this. Forgive me that I'm not positive on the numbers for the 2024. I believe it's somewhere around 325 total range for the rear wheel drive, but it's definitely at least rated at 315. But I think for the 24, they may have increased it just a bit.
Let's go around and look at the other features of the vehicle. So when I look at this, these wheels are very sporty, and it seems like very functional for aerodynamics. What do they call these, Bill?
Well, the wheel, you know, I honestly don't remember what the premium trim wheel name was, if it had a particular name. I can tell you the trim level is premium, and that was the standard wheel with the premium package.
And this is metal, guys, so you do get a good quality machined finish here. It is gloss black on the inside with this nice shiny aluminum look on the outside. Very good quality feel. And even the calipers are just absolutely massive on that. I did not notice that before standing back. One thing I would like to see is if those calipers would be a different color, how much more attention you would get.
Right, like maybe a lime green because it's electric.
There you go, yeah. That would really stand out, especially with this, how open these are. That look nice. But let's do a walk around of the vehicle. I'm gonna give you guys a perspective. It's a good sized vehicle, and we're gonna sit inside here shortly so you can just see, but Ford really did a nice job with these taillights, very sporty, and from my understanding, they have the traditional pulse out.
Yeah, they call these sequential, like the gasoline Mustang. They go one at a time. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Same thing on the front LEDs.
You know, the sequential taillights, I think, is a good heritage style item for Mustang to have gone with on the EV. Now on this side, you can really see how the color transitions. Even though this is red, you got like a very dark metallic liquid almost looking red. A nice addition on the mirrors, you have the indicator on the outside. That's very good for visibility, not only for other drivers, but semi-trucks in particular, who, if you were looking down, this is a style of fiber optic. It sticks out. So if I was a large truck or a semi-driver, this would get a lot of attention and it would help me feel safer when I'm merging. All right, and I also want to draw attention that this entire roof here is glass. You do get that nice two-tone look with the gloss black on the red, and that kind of breaks up the red a little bit. Is that an option, or is that how
it is an option? You can get this with a blackout steel roof. Now, one thing I did want to point out, since you're talking about the styling, the designers did a visual trick here. Of course, this is an SUV, but what the designers did, they wanted to try to give it that swept back, fastback look that the gasoline Mustang has. And the way they accomplished that was to trick the eye with this blackout. So you still have a nice big back seat with plenty of headroom, but the eye kind of thinks that it's a little more sleek than it actually is.
Wow.
And that's due to the blackout.
So here, to get in the vehicle, you have this little touch indication, and then you have the handle, very sturdy. There is no question about that. Unlike some vehicles, you know, where the handle feels very flimsy, like it might break, there's no question that this grabbing point, let's call, which is attached to the vehicle, that is going to probably be there for the lifetime of the vehicle without issue. I like that. Now, to access the frunk, we have a couple different ways. Besides the software, this is one of the ways. You know, everybody knows that the hood is accessible down here on standard internal combustion vehicles. Well, they kept it so that way motor function wise memory serves, and it says 2 times. So we're gonna do that, and look at that. Now, my hand naturally started hunting for the lever, which, you know, I don't have a frunk on the Fisker Ocean, so me opening that, I felt like I was opening an internal combustion vehicle's hood, and I was hunting for that. But you didn't have to do that. The pushing that or pulling that 2 times opens it up naturally. You have your service port for the wiper fluid, and this is very deep space, actually. I'm past my elbow in space, and there's a drain port if you want to use this for groceries and something spills. I like that. Does that go all the way to the street, or does it
Yeah,
get...
it does. In fact, they designed it that way for what they call front gate parties. So the idea is, for example, we've taken this to EV show and filled it with ice and drinks for people.
Wow, okay, so you could just put the ice raw in here.
Yeah, and when the ice melts, it'll just drain right out. And same thing if you happen to get it dirty, if you were doing something, you know, a little more utilitarian and you wanted to hose out the front, you could just spray it down and it'll just drain right out.
That's very nice. And you have cup holders here, or cup rests rather.
Correct. Yes.
So that's awesome. Now, what does this button do over here?
That is actually a federal requirement because this is considered a trunk. All vehicles that have, quote, trunks in the United States are required to have an emergency lever. If somebody were to be trapped in here, a small child somehow ended up locked in this, then they would be able to get out that way.
Okay, yeah, so my thoughts are this is definitely big enough where a small human could fit inside this area. So I'm glad they have that, you know, a child who's goofing around trying to play. But the fact that you can put ice and everything inside here, that is very exciting to me.
Yeah, one thing, you know, of course, your Fisker Ocean has a lot of Easter eggs. What Ford did in terms of Easter eggs is you look throughout the car, it's fun to find all the different Mustang logos that they've sprinkled throughout the automobile. That was sort of their nod to Easter eggs.
Well, we'll have to see if we can find some more throughout the duration of this video. Now, these access ports here, what if you had to service the 12-volt battery, where are you going to do that?
12-volt battery is up here. I haven't actually taken the plastics off, but I believe the 12-volt battery is up in this area here.
Okay.
And
yes, I see the plus and the minus, so it's going to be somewhere in this area.
Correct. But I've not taken the plastics off to actually see it.
And you've had no 12-volt issues with this vehicle?
No.
36,000 miles, people, and no 12-volt issues. That's very nice to hear from an EV. So it says press twice for that. Nice opening sequence there. And wow, that's very deep. Let me get a perspective from the back, just so people can see. I am 5'10", and I fit back here pretty comfortably.
Well, I think you'd find if you flip the seats, you'd be able to sleep back there, because I've done it. I keep a mattress when I'm traveling across the country occasionally.
And it looks like it's as simple as just, I push this button. I'm just figuring this out, y'all. So this is how easy this is. I just push this button. Now I have an area where I can go camping if I were to use this on that 36,000 mile trip Bill has taken with this vehicle.
Well, that's grand total.
Grand total.
Yeah.
Yes, I can't imagine doing that all in one go, but this is comfortable. You could actually put a pretty sizable mattress. I would say this is about a full size if you were to do a blow-up mattress. And you could put that back here. And does this have a climate mode where you can...
It does. Yes, you can run the air conditioner or the heater 24/7. I've found that on 85-degree nights, it will take approximately 10% of charge for about 10 to 12 hours of AC running overnight.
Now, that's an important statistic there, because a lot of people talk about sitting inside an electric vehicle stuck in traffic, idle times. That is a simulated idle, whether it be during the summer, you're using AC, or during winter, you're using heat. Most of the people who are in that situation, such as recently, it was in the news where there was a test of can an EV sit inside the traffic. What was that, Bill, where it was a dead stop on the East Coast, and there was a frozen situation in which a lot of the gas cars were running out of gas. They were wondering, could an EV in that situation last that through until the traffic cleared.
Yeah, and you know, the reality is it all depends on the EV, and just like a gas, vehicle depends on the size of the tank. But I mean, there's no question you could go, assuming you had a full charge, you could go for many days running the heater, and you wouldn't have to worry about fumes or anything like that with an EV.
So there you have it. Especially with this particular, you know, I have yet to test that in the Fisker. Mustang is very efficient in idling, and with any EV, idling is now where you're going to lose a lot of that performance of the battery, the efficiency of the battery, excuse me. You're going to lose that when you're in that upper spectrum of speed, like Bill was talking about earlier, where he said above 80, you're going to, you know, drop down quite a bit in efficiency.
That button, by the way, allows you to adjust the height, so that if you have a low garage or low ceiling, you can go ahead and have it open a little bit less.
We are going to take a look at the rear. Nope, there's no handle here. So how does this work?
Just hit the button.
Just hit the button and
you'll find a rubber grab handle right here.
Okay, well, look at that, everyone. That is something I think I've only found on this particular model, the Mach-E. A nice area to grab, so that way you're not touching some grease or some oil. And now we are going to take a look at the back seat. Now, Bill, how tall are you?
I'm 5'8".
5'8". Bill was just sitting here on the passenger side while I was driving. I'm 5'10", he's 5'8". I've got plenty of space, and I'm sure this seat isn't quite configured to him. He has a lot more leg room if he were to scoot this seat up more. And even with that, to me, it looks like that might be configured for somebody who's maybe 6 foot, the passengers.
Yeah, I mean, I like to have plenty of leg room, so I have it further back than, you know, for somebody tall in the back, I could easily put it up. I would still be comfortable.
So that being the case, even with the seat all the way back, I still have all this room. And one thing I absolutely love about any EV, especially here in the Mustang, is that there's no transmission tunnel. So you can slide your foot right across there. Looks like you have a USB-C, a USB-A, and you can open and close. That's something that, you know, I think I've missed in the Fisker is I can't manually close the vents. It's all done electronically. And as far as I know, I don't think you can electronically close them on the Fisker, at least in the rear. But, so some amenities that you're going to find back here, plenty of headroom. I'm, again, 5'10", and I've got enough headroom here. I've got a beautiful moonroof that I can look out. Note, sun's in full force today, but it is February in Florida, and I do not feel any UV influence here. This moonroof is doing a great job of filtering a lot of those rays out. All right, this particular model does not have heated seats in the rear, but I will say that these seats are well ventilated. They're gonna do a good job of taking out that heat for you, allowing you to breathe while you're sitting back here. Of course, this is a lighter interior as well, so you have the contrast, but where the heat would be trapped is nice and light. And on the back of the seats, nice material, very nice leatherette. This almost feels like a textile vinyl. What is this on the back?
I know it's man-made. I couldn't tell you, but I don't believe that it's actual leather.
Well, what's good about that is if it were this material on the back here, I think there would be a higher chance that it would be it would wear down, it would get dirty from children sitting back here if you had some. And this material is a lot more resilient for where the knees or the feet might be kicking. So I like that they added that detail. The only thing I think, you know, might, if I was any taller, my head might hit this in the rear. So I would say, you know, 5'10", if I was 6 foot, I would be touching this rear headliner back here. So I've got a wide lens perspective of the interior, or the cockpit right now, as I like to call it, since I'm an aviator. And you got this wild graphic going on. I love the high definition look of that. I mean, I could tell they're really drawing that futuristic, that EV, but they're also tying in the Mustang right there. So that's something, you know, I wish the Fisker had a little bit more attention on that display. So I'm going to hit the brake, and to turn this on, you got a standard button up here on the dash.
And when you do, you'll notice it'll have a... Oh, that's...
All right, so again, I've got the seat in the lowest position right now. You can get it. You can gauge my headroom. Tons of headroom here. I've got great visibility. That's the first thing I notice when I'm in here, is I've got great visibility out front. The mirrors can adjust. You have all 4 controls of the windows on your driver's side. You can adjust both mirrors with these buttons right here. And then this allows you to fold the mirror in. So if you're going through a car wash, that's a critical feature. You don't want to damage your mirror, so you push that. We'll go ahead and fold those back out. And then something that's important for my kids, at least, is locking them out of the functionality. One thing in the Fisker, when I hit this button, my wife wasn't able to open her window. Are you able to open yours? Well, you know, there you go. I've got it locked, everyone, and you see it. Bill is still able to open up the passenger window. That is surprising to me when I was in the Fisker, because only the rear passengers should have those functions locked. That's standard in almost every vehicle, but maybe they'll fix that in a software update. So I like how Ford did that correct. This is a very refined vehicle. Now, similar to the Fisker, I see it has a physical dial. And this is, from what I understand, a master dial. It controls not only the volume, but if I were to go into the seat warmer here, I could control that. Very easy to use, intuitive. I can go into the fan speed, control that if it's not on auto. And then, does this have cooled seats, Bill?
Just heated.
Just heated. Really, with a light interior, that's all you're gonna need. And this air that's just cranking out, it feels great right now. And I can tell that, you know, as quiet as it is, the vents, I like how you can manually manipulate them. That's something that Fisker has as a software feature. It's a little difficult to use, I'll be honest. Ooh, I'm gonna have to turn that off, because I just noticed I turned that on and it's really doing a great job at warming you up.
Ford does a great job with heated seats.
That is no joke. I just turned that on. So we can tell here we got our range on the left portion of the display. Battery life, very easy to read in the Ford Blue, 75%. Now I'm guessing that turns red when you are low?
Orange.
Orange, okay. So this little indication right here is the one-pedal driving, something that Fisker is going to get, but they do not have yet. So you got the one-pedal driving. It's telling me it's ready. There's the miles, 36,288. Beautiful car for 36,000 miles already in a 2022. I want to make a good point of that. This is a 2022 with 36,000 miles. You have to love a vehicle to drive 36,000 miles in that short of a time. I mean, Bill, how have road trips been for you in this EV?
This is the best road trip car I've owned in my lifetime. It's the most comfortable machine that I've ever owned. I would say previous to this, my top-ranked road car would have been my Trans Am, but this one beats it. And largely because of the Ford Blue Cruise. It's so effortless. The suspension is nice and smooth. And of course, any EV, that endless torque is just wonderful on the highway.
Absolutely. And the torque is no joke in EVs. I mean, you're skipping the transmission. So a lot of the chassis parts and the transmission, the drive shaft, those things all take a beating on internal combustion vehicles. But EVs are very simple. They have the motor, the battery, the computer, and electronics. So you're allowed to really whip it up, and the torque and speed are sometimes detuned by the automaker to give it more of a comfortable ride. If I was in a Cadillac, that's not made for speed. It has the ability, I'm sure, the Cadillac Lyriq, but from what I understand, that's not a vehicle you buy for the speed. And this Mustang here absolutely probably has the ability, both motor and battery pack, to do speeds similar to the GT line, but because this is an extended version, they've detuned it a lot. Am I understanding that right?
Yeah, I mean, it's what I would call quick but not fast. So, you know, it all depends what your definition of fast is. For example, even though this is a midline car, this is still quicker than my old Trans Am Ram Air. It was basically about a 5.5 car to 60. This is a 4.8 car, and of course the GT Performance is a 3.5 car, and we all know there are EVs that are even quicker than that. But that torque is amazing, and I got to tell you, for any of you that live in the mountains, that is where EVs really come into their own, because when you're going up a mountain, you don't hear that big old noisy engine. Everything is just so quiet, and it is so much fun to watch your battery gauge add the miles back on and watch the percentage of charge go up as you're coming down the mountain.
And what Bill is talking about right there is the regenerative braking system. It's where the motors are actually dual purpose. They act as a generator, taking the momentum. If you think physics, as you're going downhill, those motors are kind of engine brake. If you were to compare it to an internal combustion engine, they are motor braking the vehicle, and as they're reversing that motor, they are putting that energy back into the battery. And that is something that, as a first-time EV owner, I've absolutely loved about EVs in general.
Well, you know, and you think about it, for people that live in the mountains, you're throwing all that energy away. You know, all that friction is just going up in heat. You're wearing out your brakes. You're putting extra stress on the transmission, if you got a manual, on the clutch. You know, so you're actually really working the car hard when you're coming down a mountain, when you're putting it in low gear, where an EV loves it. It just loves it because you're actually giving it power.
Now, have you looked at how much brakes you have left on this vehicle?
No, I haven't, but given that it's one pedal driving and I only tap the brakes, you know, if I have to stop sort of quickly, I would fully expect these pads are going to last the life of the car. So, for example, on an average day, unless I'm driving aggressively, even when I'm coming to the stop, I know the car well enough that I don't even need to tap the brakes. I know just through deceleration about when to let off the accelerator, and the car will naturally come to a stop without even touching the friction brakes. You'll notice this car does have an L, which is, quote, low, but I've never used it even on mountain roads, even when I was driving across the Continental Divide. You know, there was never a mountain steep enough where I felt the need to engage that.
Wow. Okay, yeah, so that might be, does this have a tow package?
In the U.S., it does not. I have a tow hitch on it.
Okay.
The Mach-E is not rated to tow here in the U.S. Over in Europe, it's got a tow rating of, I believe, a little over 3,200 pounds.
Okay, that's a good sizable amount, and that's what I was thinking low might be for. So My thoughts here on the interior are this. I really love this material. This is like a carbon fiber-esque material, very durable plastic feel to it. Very nice, subtle leatherette here. Great stitching, makes it dresses up the interior quite a bit. I love that on vehicles when they do the dual stitching. You have the acoustic fabric, nice dash, so it has no reflection back into my eyes, so that way when I'm sitting here and the sun's hitting that, I'm not getting that distraction. I really like how low the hood is cut in, and I see the, you know, the aggressive Mustang grooves right there. That's fun to see from an enthusiast perspective, that they still kept that.
Yeah, another thing they kept from the original 1964 and a half Mustang is the dual cowl dash. You can see the dip here, just like the 64, the very first generation Mustang. And it's kind of ironic, really, because the latest 2024 gasoline Mustang redesign, they decided to abandon that, which kind of surprised me.
Wow. So something that the Mach-E has brought, you know, a testament to its history, the latest went away from.
Yeah, I mean, they did it, I think, primarily because of the digital gauge cluster. The new gasoline Mustang has a quite large digital display in front of the driver, and of course it's more of a sports car as opposed to an SUV, so it's more of a cockpit feel. I have been able to get a ride in the Dark Horse Edition. I think it's a wonderful car, although from a design standpoint, I do think they could have kept the dual cowl to keep that connection to the history of the automobile.
So definitely my thoughts on the Mustang Mach-E having the option to utilize Alexa, Siri, and Google Assistant. It has been very nicely added to the Mach-E, because one thing that the Fisker is missing is general connectivity between the driver and the vehicle through voice commands like that. I'm hoping that the Fisker, as the software, is correcting some of the more serious areas like the ADAS, that they can later focus on some of the nice to haves like Ford has been able to address here by giving you multiple options to communicate software functions of the vehicle or navigation with the vehicle, like the integration of those 3 different voice command features.
Well, one thing I do want to point out too, the factory navigation. Right now, of course, you're in Android Auto, but the factory navigation is quite good as well, and probably like your Fisker, you have the ability, of course, to send everything you want from your phone and just have it pre-programmed and ready to go when you get there. And probably, I would assume, like your Fisker, if you go ahead and you plug in a road trip. All right, so let's say we're going to Robbinsville, North Carolina. What it's going to do when I hit go, it of course is going to go ahead and it's going to add the charging stops as well. So what Ford is always going to do, it's going to try to pick the quickest, least time scenario when it sets this up. So for example, it may be that 2 stops might take an hour to charge, but 3 stops in total might only take 40 minutes to charge. And of course, that's because as the battery fills up, the charging speed slows down. So as you can see, it's not going to recommend charging to 100% in any case whatsoever. What it's going to do, it's going to say, it makes most sense to charge 79% here, but up here only go to 68%. And the reason being, it's figuring, okay, well, this way I can charge at maybe 125 kilowatts, whereas if I stayed longer, I'm going to slow down. The charging speed is going to ramp down as the battery fills up.
Question, so 10% to 80%, what's the speed on the Mustang Mach-E?
Mine peaks at 164.
Okay.
And it'll stay at that peak for just a couple minutes, and then it'll ramp down into the 120s. And I would say once you get about to maybe 70%, by that time you're in the 90s. And once it hits 80%, you're going to drop down to about 48.
Now, what's your charging duration going to look like, do you think?
Well, it all depends. Do I need 100% or do I need... it can add up to 60 miles in 10 minutes.
Okay.
One of the beauties is because it has Android Auto, I can go ahead and go to EV-specific apps as well. So, for example, if I wanted to use a better route planner, which is very EV-friendly, if I wanted to use ChargePoint, if I wanted to use Electrify America, or, of course, the gold standard, which is PlugShare, I have all those as well. So I have a lot of different options. If I wanted to use Waze, I could do that. And of course, I always have the factory system. If you wanted to play games, you could. If you wanted to watch YouTube, you could. So, you know, like here's one of the games on it. It'll take a minute to load.
Not longer than the Fisker.
So there you can see.
Oh, that's cool. Do I have to use the steering wheel?
You know,
oh. No.
Yeah, I think it's you use your...
Wouldn't that be crazy?
Yeah, I don't know that it does the steering wheel. I'm not a gamer, so...
I was getting concerned. I was like, oh, man, yeah, the steering wheel doesn't seem to...
Yeah, I don't think they tied it into that. As far as I know, it's not that sophisticated.
But that's still pretty cool that you got some busy stuff, so while you're charging, you can play a game.
Yeah, now, one thing it doesn't have that yours has, it doesn't have quite as many... video services, but because I can get a full browser off Android Auto, that doesn't really matter. So you can see they've only given me 3 things, so I don't know what the deal there is. I don't know if they're charging NBC and YouTube, and that's why those are the ones that are there, or not. But I could even mirror my entire screen if I wanted to.
That's what I was going to ask, because if you can mirror your screen, you can realistically watch any streaming service.
Oh yeah, but because this is a full web browser, so you know, Plex TV is got a bookmark, obviously YouTube, and I'm not signed into any of this stuff. The only video in reality I ever end up watching on this is occasional YouTube.
Okay.
And if you go into Ford's version of it, it'll take over the whole screen, whereas this isn't quite as large, but it gets the job done.
All right, so we are heading out to the highway right now. I'm gonna experience Blue Cruise. So far, one thing you might notice, we have the unbridled mode on, and I've got the sound. What do you call that sound again?
They call it a propulsion sound. It sort of sounds to me sort of like a space age V8.
Great, and that's kind of nice because I've heard that some people can get sick from the silence, actually. I've not yet experienced that in the Fisker, since it only does make the sound at slow speeds, but nothing internally, just externally. This offers a little bit of that kind of the sound on the inside of the vehicle, so that people who can't handle that silence will still at least have that realism of driving that they might have been used to if they just transitioned to this vehicle. I noticed it's got a sportier suspension, and correct me if I'm wrong, the unbridled does tune the suspension a little bit.
It does not. No, this has the base suspension. Now, if you were to get the upper trim GT Performance, you would have MagneRide, and MagneRide would indeed firm up the shocks, depending on, you know, whether you're in bridled or whisper. But this is the same suspension no matter what mode you're in. It'll remap the throttle and it will remap the steering feel, but that's it.
Okay, well that's nice. And honestly, I think it still being a heritage Mustang vehicle, you shouldn't completely rob that suspension away just because you don't have the GT. So I'm glad they kind of kept it a little tighter. So for me, that's gonna be a neutral to plus item. I'm still young. I'm 35, so you know, I'm an enthusiast driver. I love that. I think it's also gentle enough to where someone could find that this vehicle would be pleasant on a road trip, but still stiff enough to where you could have fun with it without needing, again, to buy the GT. So that's nice to have. What's nice is I don't have bells and whistles dinging at me like the Fisker sometimes does. You know, some days it's a really great, quiet drive. Some days it's a noisy software bug day, but it is refreshing to have a refined vehicle. I'm not gonna lie. And we are going to get on 295 and experience the Mach-E in its full. All right, here we go. I would definitely say this is quick. You know, like you were talking about, we're already at, let's just say we're at the speed limit. EVs are crazy how fast they get going. And I don't know if you guys could hear that, but there was that sound, hit me with it again.
They just call it propulsion sound, but to me it sounds like a muscle car.
It does, and it almost reminded me of like a spaceship. You know, I called the Fisker the alien mothership. I keep referring to that. I love that kind of futuristic sound. A lot of people, Blue Cruise is available, so let's do this. All right, so I'm gonna go into Blue Cruise here. Standard button that looks like cruise control. You would hit that. You see the screen? It goes into this futuristic, almost midnight 30 kind of view with the dark blue. I feel like I just went into some sort of tactical mode. And guys, my hands are completely off. This is a surreal feeling right now. It is perfectly steering between these lanes. And this system is made so I have to keep my eyes we are going around a turn right now. This is insane. And we got a Tesla Model Y pulling up next to us. Again, this area is dominated by them.
And you can see that now it's on self-steering.
Oh, wow.
And it should find Blue Cruise in a second. I don't know why it's taking so long. I don't know what's making it mad.
Now, for everyone's knowledge, the same camera that is going to operate the we're back in Blue Cruise, is found right up here on top of the windshield. This is the same camera that the Fisker Ocean utilizes for the system that is coming in the software called ADAS or FI Pilot. I feel safe with that. I mean, we right now are in some traffic, and Blue Cruise gave me a nice little warning that, hey, you need to take control of the wheel. The sun is doing all sorts of crazy glare right now. There could be some dirt or debris up there. I understand. The Fisker's ADAS system goes off all the time if there's even a little dew on the glass.
So what it's trying to tell you is, you're probably a little close to the edge. It's having trouble finding its way back. As long as you stay in a lane in the middle, it usually finds its way back.
And we are going to engage Blue Cruise and see if we can be a little naughty and look away, and for how long before it gets upset with me. Blue Cruise just immediately engaged. Okay, everybody, I'm gonna be a little naughty here. I'm gonna look away. How long?
It's gonna take probably a good 20 seconds. Oh, there you go.
It's warning. Watch the road, it said. Everyone, you saw, how long was that? Maybe 5 seconds?
Yeah, about that.
All right, now I'm gonna fall asleep. All right, so it's warning me already. This is quick. So everybody, my final thoughts as we conclude our time here. If you want a vehicle that you can go on a road trip, and you want to also enter into the EV segment, this is a great vehicle to help transition between that internal combustion Ford that you might be driving and jumping right into this EV. I love the Mustang Mach-E. This is definitely an unbiased review. My only, I guess, criticism is just the back seat. If I was a little bit taller, you know, my head might touch that headliner. Other than that, this is the perfect vehicle. I really feel safe. I feel like I could do these 36,000 miles over the 2 years that you died heading south. And we are going to engage Blue Cruise and see if we can be a little naughty and look away, and for how long before it gets upset with me. So I'm not gonna mash it this time because I got someone in front of me, but once I get on the clear, we are going to put it on Blue Cruise. Everywhere you look, there's a Tesla.
Oh yeah.
Alright, so I'm going at nice good speed. Again, engage. I've got regular cruise control on now. Or, nope. Blue Cruise. Just immediately engaged. Okay, everybody. I'm going to be a little naughty here. I'm going to look away.
It's going to take probably a good 20 seconds. Oh, there you go.
It's warning. Watch the road, it said. Everyone, you saw. How long was that? Maybe 5 seconds?
Yeah, about that.
All right, now I'm going to fall asleep. All right, so it's warning me already. I opened my eyes. It knew the moment I opened my eyes. This is quick. So we are not facing the sun right now, so not experiencing the same kind of feeling we had before where when the sun nailed that camera. And it might also be that the road paint is a little faded. It's smooth sailing right now, as I say in the Navy. I can comfortably be like this, I feel like, for the next 200 miles, honestly. Alright, so it said resume control. It did not like the truck.
Well, it may have been the truck, but if you noticed, some of the lines were black as well.
Yeah, get that actually real quick. So these lines just kind of disappeared, and that is probably what's happening. You know, if cities don't keep up their roads, then these kind of, and it immediately wants to take, actually, that's what it was. As soon as the lines came back, it took control of the vehicle again. Well, that's kind of a bummer. They need to fix that. And they, being the city, needs to fix the road. Ford's doing their job. I'm really excited about this in the Fisker to get the FI Pilot, honestly. So everybody, my final thoughts as we conclude our time here. If you want a vehicle that you can go on a road trip and you want to also enter into the EV segment, this is a great vehicle to help transition between that internal combustion Ford that you might be driving and jumping right into this EV. You get all the perks of charging at your house for what costs maybe $4 to fill the entire vehicle up battery-wise.
Here in Jacksonville, it costs approximately $11.50 to fill this from 0% to 100% at home.
0 to 100%. Wow. So have you found what it costs? And the vehicle vehicle auto-braked as that person cut in front of us. I like that. What does it cost for you to charge just on a regular basis? How much do you charge it to?
I normally leave it charged to 80%, and then on the weekends I charge it to 100% because we do, every Sunday we do a round trip of 215 miles, and I'd like to have lots of pad.
Okay, so if you were to just charge to 80%, what is the average cost? And this is what a lot of the routine charging just going around town is going to be for most people.
Well, you know, I'd have to actually, without having a calculator, it's going to be a guesstimate. Like I say, it's $11.50 to fill it to 100%. So I guess the 80%, what do you figure, $8?
Yeah, or less, honestly, because it really slows down, right, when it gets from 80 to 100%.
Well, of course, when you're charging at home, it doesn't matter. I mean,
yep.
You know, basically here in Jacksonville, our utility gives us off-peak charging discounts. So we have 3 EVs, so we have a discount of $21 a month if we charge between the hours of 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. So we just have our car set to automatically turn on and start charging at 10 p.m. and we wake up to whatever we predetermined, whether that's 100%, 80%, you know, it all depends.
Now, what is the price per kilowatt here in Jacksonville right now?
Last time I checked, I think it was 12 cents.
And that's factoring
and that would
the
be
fuel charge?
That was everything. That was taxes and fees.
Okay.
That was everything. But like gasoline, you know, electric costs do fluctuate, so it could be higher or lower at the time of this video's recording.
Okay. Well, definitely, I love the Mustang Mach-E. It's definitely an unbiased review. My only, I guess, criticism is just the back seat. If I was a little bit taller, you know, my head might touch that headliner. Other than that, this is the perfect vehicle. I really feel safe. I feel like I could do these 36,000 miles over the 2 years that you've done. It's just very comfortable. I have back issues. The seats are comfortable. I have great visibility. I can feel safe with the Blue Cruise, so driving those longer distances to the chargers or going to the mountains. I love going to Gatlinburg. I feel like I can do that in the Mach-E.